What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl Shelly Nicole with the Remedy Podcast. How was everybody's weekend? Hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a chilled weekend. I didn't do anything, honestly. I've just been relaxing and chilling and just looking forward to the spring and to the hot weather because I'm over this cold weather and constantly getting sick. So we're going to step right into the episode today. This episode, I was talking about it for like the last 2 weeks. I went from doing the live last week. I did the live last week. It was only for like 30 minutes. It wasn't too many people on, so we kind of like wrapped it up very quickly. But the week before that, it was booming. It was really like people were on it. So I was going to come back on, but then live was just acting weird on Instagram, and then people kept calling me, so I was like, all right, forget it, I'll just do it next week. So basically tonight's topic is about the toxic shit that our families taught us within the Black community, and there's really a lot of them. I mean, at least within the Black community, possibly the same with the Hispanic community as well. But I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and we were basically just saying like how there are so many toxic traits that we have that we just continue to bring down from generation to generation, and it explains why we are the way that we are, or we act the way that we act. And in some things it's like it's just embedded in us. It's some things that are just it makes us who we are, and some we don't have to change. I feel like I said, that just makes us us, and that just keeps us separated from everyone else. But there are some toxic things that I just feel like I wish we would stop doing, or just like not do it as often. So like the one thing is the aggressive discipline. Now, I get it. We have been accustomed to aggression and to being disciplined. If you take it all the way back into slavery, where the masses were out here disciplining us if ever we did anything wrong, if we ran away, if whatever they told you not to do and you did it, you got disciplined. And the aggression came from centuries of us being tormented and being abused. But I think we've now taken that with I guess it has been passed down, right, from our children, where you have to tell them, like, don't do this, don't do that. If you do this, you're going to get hurt. And hoping that they listen and they pay attention to preventing them from getting into trouble. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I don't think it really comes from an angry place. It just comes from a place of preventing you from getting hurt, preventing you from possibly being detained by the police, possibly getting into it with someone outside of your culture, outside of your race, and things turning for the worse. Somebody had agreed with me on that when I had mentioned that on the live, and some people don't like to think of it that way or think that far back. But if you don't really know, or you're not really educated on that, I would read up more on it, because it does make sense. It makes sense in my head, at least, that a lot of what we do and how we say and how we treat our kids and how we just keep passing this down is because of what our grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents had been taught, because it prevented them from getting into any trouble with the outside world. Even if you look at like the actual facts of it all, from kids who are like in preschool and school age, like middle school, as you become an adult, if you've gotten spanked or popped or like, I don't want to say beat up, because that sounds like child abuse, but if you've ever gotten your hands laid on you as a child, or like a belt or a shoe or anything like that, it causes or develops anxiety and depression in adults, if that's something that you have experienced as a child. Now, I guess that can be true. I guess some of it is possibly not, but I don't know. I guess it just depends on the individual. It depends on the person, because there are some people who I know who have gotten beat when they were kids, got popped, shoes, pots, pans thrown at their head, and they're just like, it happened, but I'm okay. Like, it just made me a little bit stronger, but they don't feel that they have any depression or anxiety. And again, it's individual, so it may have happened in one person, it may not have happened in someone else. But I do feel that it does cause a little bit of, not developmental delay, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to engage positively in, I guess, like just with anybody, not necessarily just with school, but just like with anyone who you meet, because you're just, you're walking on eggshells, or you're like very cautious as to how you talk or how you interact with people. And again, it's not for everyone, but I do feel like some of that is true. And if, as an adult, if you're obviously listening to this, you can either attest to it and agree with it, or maybe it has something to do with you. Maybe you're just one of those who didn't have any issues or don't have any issues as an adult. I wouldn't say my anxiety came from that. I think because my parents didn't really hit me and my brother. Like, we never got abused. We got like warnings. Like, my father would put a belt around his neck and like just hold it, and it would just be like, I told you how to clean up this room, and we would start cleaning up. Like, that was enough. We got popped. It's probably the one thing we did. We got popped and like the pinch and twist thing, but we never really got physically like things thrown at us. I don't think my mom ever threw like anything at me. I don't think. I'm trying to like remember, but I don't think she ever did. And I know my dad didn't do it either. He was more like I'm gonna tell you this one time only. Me, I was a little bit rebellious. I needed to be told like 3 times, but who's counting? But I guess some of the like aggressive talking that we are just so used to is like you guys have heard this. I'm pretty sure as a Black person, you have heard this once or twice within your life growing up. Stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Like, I'm already crying. I'm crying because I'm already hurt. So how are you going to give me something else to cry about? I'm crying already. Like, I'm already hurt. My feelings are hurt. That's nothing for you to cry about. I'm going to give you something to cry about if I whip your ass. Like that. That is like, I guess, kind of negating the feelings of what the child is like, what the child's feeling. Like, he or she is feeling upset for some reason already. So then you're going to sit here and say, well, I'm going to beat your ass again. So you're going to really be crying. So now I have to deal with the emotional side of it, like the mental side of me being upset. And now I'm getting physically abused because I guess I'm crying for no reason, according to you. Touch anything in here and I'll pop you. I remember my parents used to say that too. Don't touch nothing. Don't ask for nothing because you ain't getting nothing. But it wasn't all the time. It was like here and there. And I guess we could laugh about it because like it's something that we're just so used to. And it's just like, and it doesn't make them, by no means does it make your parents bad. This is just something that they have learned themselves. Their parents taught them this, and then their parents taught them that. So it's just something that we're just bringing down the pipeline, and we're just showing, we're sending it to our kids. I think now, at least from what I've heard from all of my friends who are parents, that they don't even like pop their kids now. Like, they don't pop their kids, and not because like, oh, it's against the law, like bullshit. They don't care about that. I think it's more so they want to break this toxic generational curse of us putting our hands on our kids to like make a point and to like discipline them, when you can really discipline them just by speaking to them and saying what you got to say. Because like I said, for me and my brother, it was more of like words were enough. Like, them words were just like, yeah, do it again and see what happens. And it was that look that we got was like, okay, you got it, no problem. So another study said that in a Columbia study said that adults don't do well with confrontation when they were yelled at as children. So being yelled at as a child, you don't deal with confrontation as an adult easily. Like, you're very hostile. You're probably very quick to like nuck if you buck. Like, you're really angry, and how you handle it is not as like calm and understanding, or just like not as, you don't take it easily. Like, you're not able just to have a conversation and talk to someone. You're just very ready to like fight, and you start yelling and throwing things and getting real rowdy for no reason, when it's really something that could just be talked out. And that's because you're so used to having someone be so aggressive to you just off of like the smallest things. Like a friend of mine said that she hated it, and it's something that she's like learning within therapy, that she is learning the aggression that her mom would give to her and her siblings whenever she would come home. Why isn't this shit cleaned up? Mind you, the kids just got home from school. Like, they just got home from school. She's probably like an hour after they get out, she's getting out of work. So they're just coming home, they're doing their homework, or like, you know, they're getting some food or a snack or something like that. And the moment she gets home, it's like, well, why isn't this cleaned up? Well, I have homework to do. Like, I'll do it eventually, but right now I'm doing my schoolwork. And she was like, her mom was very aggressive. And lo and behold, like, honestly, they were able to have this conversation with the therapist, and they were able to come to the understanding that it didn't do them any good, because they were also very aggressive in their relationships. Not even with their kids, they were aggressive with their relationships, as far as like, I told you to do this and why aren't you doing that, and very like talking down to their partners, because they were so used to it, and they saw that for them, they just got it done. So they assuming that everybody else who they encounter is supposed to do the same thing and react in that same exact way. And it came out that, you know, they were able to change it. She obviously apologized. The mom apologized for it. She didn't notice it, but it was something that she was passed down to her. Her mother did it to her. Her father did it to her. And that's why she's so aggressive, or realizing why she was so aggressive now. So even raising her children, she doesn't have kids yet, but she notices that after taking this whole therapy session, that she's going to be more mindful of how she talks to people and how she presents herself. And when she needs something to be done, it's a way you say it. Because a lot of the times it's not how you say things. It's really just it's not what you say. It's how you say it. That's what I meant to say. It's not what you say. You could say that you want something done. You could say, hey, I need you to do this, or do you mind if this happens, or X, Y, and Z. You could say all of that. But if it comes out very disrespectful, if it comes out like you're demanding somebody to do something, you're automatically turning somebody off, and they don't want to do it. And that then can become confrontational, because that doesn't necessarily mean that person will argue with you or yell at you. They'll just look at you and then turn away like, I know you're not talking to me. Because if you needed something to be done, or if you need me to do something, there's a way that you ask. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that now. They don't know how to talk. Another toxic thing that I think as people that we do is correcting feminine behavior in boys. So like, and when I say feminine behavior, I'm saying that as like, so I mentioned this on the live too, that I had, there's a girl that I know, she was basically talking about a moment where she had to correct herself, because she has I think her daughter is like 3 or 4, and her son is about like 2 or 3. They're like a year apart. So nonetheless, the son, they were going to go take a picture, and she told the daughter and the son to come take the picture with us. Like, take a picture, like, let me just, of you two together. And the daughter goes and she takes a picture where she's poking out like her little butt, and then she's doing the 2 fingers and kissy face. So the son walks over and looks at the sister like, oh, that's what you're doing. Like, I guess in his head, like, okay, I'll pose like this too. So he ends up doing the same thing, the same type of pose. But again, he's 2-3 years old. He's not knowing that a little boy is not supposed to do that. It's not correlating. All he's doing is seeing his bigger sister do something that the mom asks to take a picture, and she's posing, and he's just emulating his sister. The mom said, no, don't do that. Boys don't do that. Don't do that. Like, corrected him. And he looked like, and it's like she popped him, like, not hard, but she hit him, she said, and told him like, don't do that. So then he didn't cry. He just looked at the sister, and then he looked at the mom. And it was kind of like, and mind you, she's telling me all of this, and it kind of made her emotional, because she's like, I didn't realize that I basically told my son, I'm trying to teach my son to be quote unquote masculine, but he's 2 and 3. He's so young. He doesn't know that right now. He doesn't know what being masculine is as a little boy. He just knows that he's following his sister. So he looked at the little boy, stops. He stood up, he rubbed his arm and looked at the sister and looked at the mom like, okay, so, but she didn't get hit. Why didn't she get hit for it? And then he turns around to take the picture, and she's taking the picture, and he's just standing there, hands to his side, face like, it looks like he's going to cry, but he doesn't. And he's just standing there because now he doesn't know what to do. He's like, well, I can't pose like that. So now what do I do? How do I pose? So I think we as Black people are very hypersensitive to the fact of our little boys doing things that may look feminine or may be feminine without realizing that they are just little boys. They're young. They don't know no better. They're just doing what it is that they see. And if it's something that you feel like you can, and then this is also why I say it's very important to have that father-son connection as well. And I'm not saying that without it, that's not going to happen, because you don't know how your child or what your child will be, or who they will love. And if whoever they love that's on them. That's a whole nother story. But loving your child either way, right? But trying to be too tough on Black boys when it comes to correcting them because they're doing something that looks too feminine in your eyes. I think we have to take a step back on that too. There's literally like a laundry list of things. But again, some things that I just, pointed out: poverty, not buying or keeping property to pass down to our children. Now, I know some people don't know much about passing generational wealth down, but I don't want to hear that either, because there are just so many different things. YouTube University is free. So I don't want to hear anybody say like, oh, well, I have to pay for this course, I have to pay for that course. You don't. You can go on YouTube and you can literally put in the search, how to pass down generational wealth. And it's by numerous ways that you can do it. But one thing that I do notice too is that Black people will tend to get rid of their property. We'll get rid of their homes. We'll get rid of their condos. We'll get rid of their co-ops, whatever it is that can be passed down onto their children. And they just say, well, I don't want to deal with this, and I don't want to deal with that, and it's just too much this, and it's just too much that, instead of just finding the resources that can help them keep the property within that family's name. I know that there is so many, my mom has told me this before, right? Where she wished that she would have kept, like, she would have bought this brownstone in Harlem. And she let it go from, like, now she doesn't talk about it. But before, she used to talk about it so much, how she just wished she would have bought that brownstone in Harlem. I want to say the brownstone at that time, I think, I was probably 2. My brother wasn't born yet. And she was saying that, or maybe I was a little bit older, I don't know. But the brownstone was, give or take, $200,000. Something not too expensive, right? That same brownstone now is probably worth 1 point something, if not 2 point something million dollars now. And just knowing that we can invest our money in something else other than liquor, something other than the casinos, something other than the strip club, buying bottles for people to try to impress people who don't even like you. Instead of buying all of these expensive ass labels who, if we're being honest, really don't want you wearing their shit. Because they don't. They're not going to tell you that, because they know that's where they're getting their money from. Don't get me wrong. I like me a little bag. I like me a little shoe. I like me a little something from some of these name brands. But will you ever catch me dead wearing everything that I own name brand? Absolutely not. And if I am, I'm wearing a Black name brand. For the most part, I am. But If we would just take all the money that we invest into liquor and into gambling and into designer this and into all these other things that really don't do nothing for us but kill us and then keep us from leveling up, we would have a lot of land, we would have a lot of properties, we would have so many things that we can pass down to our children. I swear, like, I even said this to like my friends too, that I was talking about what I wanted to pass down, and getting into real estate, I feel like, is one of the best things. I know it's like kind of challenging right now because of the way the economy is going, but that is something that I definitely said, like, I want to pass down some land, a house, if it's not a business, just something that I can pass down on to my kids to have and be like, listen, do with this what I'm teaching you, and just keep it going throughout the family. Now, I don't want to say that this is just a Black person thing. I don't, because I know some Hispanics, Latinas, who go through this just the same. Paying to live in your own house. Like, paying to live in your parents' house, the people who gave birth to you, and you're living in your parents' house, and now you got to pay. Don't get me wrong. I won't sit here and say that you should just live scot-free and not pay nothing. Pay a utility bill, pay a phone bill. Okay, cool. But to sit here and pay rent, I'm paying rent to live in a room? How am I supposed to then start saving to get out of the house that you have raised me in if I'm paying rent in a house that I live in, that I did not ask to be born into, but I'm here? So now, how is that my fault? And I get it, like, things are expensive. I understand that. Again, I'm not saying that your grown child who is working and possibly in school or just working should not pay nothing and just live in your house. I'm not saying that at all. Again, there's a utility bill that can be paid. There's some type of chores around the house that can be done. Something that they're doing to contribute to the house, I definitely believe in. But having your child pay $200, $300, $150 every time they get paid and it's going towards the rent or it's going towards the mortgage, it's baffling to me. I don't understand that. I'm not paying. I don't want my child to pay to live in a house that I brought them into. The whole point is that, okay, now you're at this age where you could start working. I want you to start saving up your money because you're going to want to find your own place. You're going to want to get out of here. You're not going to want to live with mom and dad forever. So you need to start saving. But you see this electric bill? Yeah, you're going to be paying this electric bill. That's what you're going to be paying for once a month, so you can learn what bills are. You can learn how to pay things on time. You want to get a car? That's fine. You're going to pay your insurance on time. You're going to pay that insurance because you're going to learn what it's like to work, and then also have to pay bills. That's a part of being an adult. Like, let's be for real. Don't coddle them into thinking that, they don't know how to do anything. But I just feel like paying rent in a home that I didn't ask to be in, that you brought me into, I think it's a little absurd, and I wish that we would stop doing that. This is specifically for, and I guess this could be like kind of a touchy subject. And again, I'm open to all comments and everything, people commenting and saying, how they feel about it. The other thing that was mentioned during the live was the saying that you're the man of the house, daddy's not here. Basically making young men, and mostly young Black boys, young children, grow up faster than what they need to be. And then, I guess, as the single mother, wanting to reprimand them because they are still children, but then also telling them, well, now you're the man of the house. So when they're acting like the man of the house and they're starting to do things as men of the house, now you want to reprimand them and tell them, no, they can't do that. Giving them kind of like a confused state. Just like with that, example that I gave you about the boy being hit or popped. I wouldn't say hit because that sounds abusive, but being popped because he was posing like his sister. Giving the confusion of, okay, so do I take care of the house and do what I have to do and help out, or do I listen to my mother either way because she's still my mom and I'm still a young boy? And again, this is not to sit here and say, and I can only say but so much because, again, I'm not a mom. I wasn't raised by a single mother. I am not a mother on my own. I can only go based off of what I've heard, and this is just like, again, what I'm hearing from women who have who are single mothers and who have sons, who would say that it's easier for people who don't have this type of narrative in their home because they don't know that it's harder for a single mother to raise a boy in a household where it's just you and them, or it's just, him and his brothers, or him and like his sisters, and showing him like, these are the things that of what she thinks a man is supposed to be in the house. But I will speak on the fact that gentlemen, you need to be present in the household. That was another big thing that kept going on the live, as well as not letting the men in. I guess a lot of men were feeling like they were being left out when it comes to raising their child, and feeling as though some women will hold a child over their head, dangling them like they're a fish, and like trying to, keep them from having a relationship with their child because you just won't allow them in the house. I do feel like, gentlemen, you have to take the necessary action if and only if this is a situation where she's doing something like that, where she's preventing you from seeing your child because she's bitter, preventing you from seeing your child because she's mad that you two didn't work out, so now you're not going to see your child. And I've been in a relationship where it was like that with my ex, and with one of my exes, and he, that really, it irritated the hell out of me because there was no real reason as to why she was doing that, simply because he did not choose to be with her. She kept that child away from him. So, gentlemen, I think you should take the necessary steps that there is to make sure you see your child. But women, if you are doing shit like that, you're a bozo. You are a bozo. Because, and I said it, you are. Because it didn't work out. Yes, there was probably a plan. Yes, there was probably an idea. Yes, things were said. Okay, cool. But now what are we going to do? We're going to move on. He still wants to be there. He still wants to see his child. He's still helping out. He's still doing way more. And when I say helping out, gentlemen, I don't mean as in you're giving her money once a month for this child and it's $100 and, well, I bought him some sneakers, or, well, I bought him. No, doing more than that. Picking the child up from school, taking the child every weekend or every other weekend, coming up with a schedule, giving her money when she needs it for the child. Or if you don't feel like you don't trust her, or whatever the case may be, you end up buying what you have to buy. And then when you drop the child back off to the mom, he has everything, or she has everything. Sneakers, clothes, whatever the case may be. And again, I can only speak but so much, and I can only speak again about just what I've seen and what I've seen on my personal side. But I think having the male in the household, regardless if you guys work out or not, is very, very important. It's something that obviously just needs to be, I mean, we've been dealing with this for centuries. It's not like this has happened out of nowhere, but it's something that needs to be talked about, and that will happen on a later episode. One of the last things that I'll mention is when, I guess we have this thing that we do the beating, like getting beaten when we do something wrong. So when you do something wrong, that means you got to get physically hurt, instead of, again, being talked to, instead of just having a conversation and telling them, listen, this is what you have to do instead of doing this, because this is going to cause that. Being more open to communicating. And then I also wonder if, and I'm just thinking about this now, if our lack of communication within relationships today as grown-ups, as adults, is it effect from not being able to have conversations as a child with your parents, or your parents not being able to have a conversation with you, and instead they just lash out. You get what I'm saying? Like, you didn't get conversations. You didn't have a talking. Like, nobody talked to you. Your mother didn't talk to you about what was wrong. Your father probably didn't talk to you about what was, what he was dealing with, or anything that may have been bothering them. So instead they lashed out on you, they yelled at you, they hit you, they threw something at you, instead of just talking, instead of just saying what it is that you need, that needs to get across. Instead, they would just hit you. So now it's like, as an adult, instead of communicating with your partner, instead of communicating and letting them know what is bothering you, you then now walk away. You go ghost. You don't say anything because you don't know how to express yourself, because you never taught how to express yourself. It would kind of make sense if you really think about it. But I mean, I guess that would be something closer to study. But again, getting beaten because you did something wrong, I think we also need to stop doing that. If you didn't get it right, you didn't get it right. But again, talking to your children and not just always having to hit them. Some kids do need to get popped. I'm not going to sit here and say that all kids are, holier than thou, and then you shouldn't have to like lay the hand of wrath on some kids, because some kids need it. But I do feel like there are multiple occasions where you can just have a conversation with your kid and they'll get it. They'll understand. Better than just having to hit them or yelling at them. Because not even just physically, just like the mental, emotional abuse that they will feel just from the words that come out of your mouth, that will then affect them as they get older. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your nights. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, whatever time you're listening to this. Thank you guys for listening. I will be on live again on Wednesday at 6 p.m. I think I'm going to just keep doing it on Wednesday. And I'm not sure what the next topic will be. I'm going to come up with it, but stay tuned. Look at if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's on YouTube as well under Michelle Nicole. That is my YouTube channel. I put all my vlogs and the podcast and everything is just underneath there. And then look on Instagram, the remedy_podcast. I will also be advertising and showing you guys all the new episodes. Make sure you like, comment, and share. I love you guys for listening. Have a great night. Whatever happened today, keep it into today. Do not bring that shit into tomorrow. Later.